Admiral Tay stood on the bridge of the Confederacy's largest diplomatic vessel as it entered Earth's orbit. This blue planet had been classified as a Class 12 death world, the most dangerous inhabited planet ever discovered. The science team had been shocked when they detected radio signals from such a hostile environment. Sensors confirm atmospheric composition, reported Science Officer June, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. Oxygen levels alone would be toxic to most Confederacy species. And the gravity, it's remarkable any intelligent life evolved here at all. Tay nodded, his large eyes blinking slowly as he studied the planet below. Yet they did. And now they've reached the stars. The meeting with Earth's United Council had been arranged after months of careful signal exchanges. Humans had reacted to first contact with surprising calm, even enthusiasm. Now, as the shuttle descended toward the designated landing zone in a region called Korea, Tay felt both excitement and apprehension. The human greeting party waited in an open area, unprotected from their world's harsh sunlight and unpredictable weather. Tay noticed they didn't wear the environmental suits his team required. These creatures had evolved to withstand conditions that would kill most Confederacy species within minutes. An older human stepped forward as Tay emerged from the shuttle. "Welcome to Earth. I am Director Park of the United Council," he said through the translation device. "We are honored to be the first humans to meet beings from another world." Tay performed the formal greeting gesture. "The honor is ours, Director Park. The Galactic Confederacy seeks peaceful exchange with all spacefaring species." The diplomatic meeting proceeded better than expected. Humans proved curious but respectful, asking thoughtful questions about Confederacy culture and technology. They seemed especially interested in joining the wider galactic community. "Your species has achieved remarkable progress despite evolving in such challenging conditions," Tay observed during a break in the formal discussions. Director Park smiled slightly. "Perhaps because of those conditions, not despite them. Struggle has shaped us." The comment puzzled Tay, but before he could ask for clarification, his communication device chimed with an urgent signal. Science Officer June approached quickly, his face showing distress. "Admiral, we've received an emergency transmission from Outpost Sigma," June whispered. "The Koroth Dominion has launched an attack. 3 stations destroyed already." Tay felt his heart sink. The Koroth had been expanding aggressively for decades, but direct attacks on Confederacy outposts meant full-scale war had begun. "We must return immediately," Tay said, turning to Director Park. "I apologize, but an emergency requires our presence elsewhere." The human's expression showed concern. "Is there trouble, Admiral?" Tay hesitated, then decided honesty might be the best approach with these new potential allies. "Yes. A hostile force has attacked our territory. I fear we face war." Director Park exchanged glances with his military advisor, General Moon. The older human nodded slightly before Park spoke again. "Perhaps Earth could offer assistance," Park suggested. "We have extensive military experience." Commander Doak, the Confederacy military advisor who had remained silent during most of the diplomatic talks, could not hide his skepticism. "With respect, Director, the Koroth Dominion possesses technology far beyond Earth's current capabilities." General Moon smiled, but his eyes remained serious. "Technology isn't everything in warfare, Commander." Back aboard the ship, Commander Doak voiced his concerns more directly. "Admiral, these humans have barely left their own solar system. What could they possibly contribute against the Koroth fleet?" "I understand your doubts," Tay replied, watching Earth grow smaller through the viewport as they prepared to jump to lightspeed. "But we face an enemy that outnumbers us 3-1. We need allies, even inexperienced ones." 3 days later, after witnessing the devastation at Outpost Sigma and receiving reports of Koroth forces advancing toward the central systems, Admiral Tay made his decision. The Confederacy would formally request Earth's military assistance. The response came faster than expected. Earth agreed to send a specialized military unit immediately, with more forces to follow if needed. "They call themselves the 501st Special Operations Division," June reported, reviewing the transmission. "Apparently, they're veterans of various Earth conflicts. Commander Doak looked unconvinced. Let's hope these deathworld creatures are as tough as their planet suggests. They'll need to be. As the Confederacy prepared for the humans' arrival, rumors spread among the crew. Some said humans could survive wounds that would kill any other species. Others claimed they could fight for days without rest. Admiralty dismissed most of these as exaggerations, but one thing was certain: they were about to discover what creatures from a death world could really do. Commander Doak stood stiffly in the docking bay as the airlock indicators cycled from red to green. The Earth vessel had arrived after 3 days of faster-than-light travel, a surprisingly quick response to the Confederacy's request for aid. The ship itself was unremarkable, smaller than expected, with a utilitarian design that spoke of function over form. I expected something more impressive, Doak muttered to Admiralty, who stood beside him. They are new to interstellar travel, Tay reminded him quietly. Let us reserve judgment on their capabilities. The airlock door slid open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Doak straightened his posture, prepared to greet the fearsome warriors from the deadly planet Earth. He had studied what little information they had about human military tactics during the wait, and while primitive, their history of warfare was extensive. What emerged from the airlock, however, was not what he expected. The first human to step through had silver hair and a face marked with lines. He walked with perfect posture but moved deliberately, not with the spring of youth. Behind him came more humans, all similarly aged, none appearing younger than what humans would consider old age. Welcome aboard Station Alpha, Admiralty said, stepping forward with the formal greeting gesture. I am Admiral Tay of the Galactic Confederacy. The silver-haired human nodded and returned a crisp military salute. Colonel Han, commanding officer of Earth's 501st Special Operations Division. We're here to help. Doak couldn't contain his surprise. These are your elite soldiers, he asked, forgetting diplomatic protocol. Colonel Han raised an eyebrow. We are 20 combat veterans with over 500 combined years of military experience. A female human stepped forward to stand beside Colonel Han. Her hair was mostly gray with streaks of black, and a scar ran along her jawline. Major Sun, second in command, she introduced herself. We understand your situation is urgent. Perhaps we could discuss strategy rather than credentials. Admiral Tay shot Doak a warning glance before responding. Of course, Major. We've prepared a briefing room. Please, follow me. As they walked through the station's corridors, Doak observed the human soldiers. They carried personal equipment that looked outdated even by Earth standards, modified projectile weapons rather than energy-based arms. Their combat suits appeared to be reinforced fabric rather than the powered armor used by Confederacy forces. Yet they moved with quiet confidence, eyes constantly scanning their surroundings, positioning themselves protectively around their commander without obvious communication. In the briefing room, Tay displayed the tactical situation. Koroth forces had taken 3 outposts and were advancing toward Confederacy core systems. Their ships outnumbered the defensive fleet, and ground forces were better equipped. The situation is grim, Tay admitted. Our forces are spread thin. Colonel Han studied the holographic display, walking around it slowly. Tell me about the enemy, he said. Not their weapons or numbers. Their psychology. How do they think? The question surprised Doak. They are conquerors, he answered. Aggressive, territorial. They fight for dominance, not just resources. Han nodded. Predators, then. They expect to win because they've always won. Yes, Tay agreed. They've expanded unchecked for decades. Major Sun pointed to a small outpost near the front lines. What's this position? Forward Base Epsilon, Doak explained. Minimally defended. We expect it to fall within days. Han and Sun exchanged a meaningful look. That's where we'll deploy, Han said. That's suicide, Doak protested. The Koroth force approaching Epsilon outnumbers any defensive unit we could place there. Colonel Han smiled slightly. Numbers aren't everything, Commander. Sometimes the unexpected presence is more valuable than an extra battalion. Later, as the humans were shown to their quarters, Doak reviewed their personnel files with Admiral Tay. Colonel Han is 67 Earth years old, Doak said incredulously. Major Sun is 64. The youngest is 58. Admiral, they've sent us their elderly. They've sent us their experienced, Tay corrected. Director Park called them their finest veterans. Perhaps on Earth, age and skill are not mutually exclusive. Doak wasn't convinced. Or perhaps they couldn't spare their younger soldiers and sent these as a gesture of goodwill, knowing they can't actually help. Before Tay could respond, the station alert sounded. A Koroth scout ship had been detected near Forward Base Epsilon. When they reached the command center, they found Colonel Han and Major Sun already there, studying the tactical display with professional interest. Looks like our deployment just became urgent, Han said calmly. We'll need transportation to Epsilon immediately. You still intend to go? Doak asked, surprised. Major Sun checked her weapon with practiced efficiency. This is exactly the opportunity we were hoping for, Commander. The Koroth expect Epsilon to be an easy target. And you'll be significantly outnumbered, Doak pointed out. Colonel Han smiled, and for the first time, Doak felt a chill of uncertainty. There was something in the old human's eyes, something that didn't match his frail appearance. Let me tell you something about Earth soldiers, Commander, Han said quietly. We're never more dangerous than when we're outnumbered. Commander Doak woke to the sound of alarms blaring throughout Forward Base Epsilon. He had insisted on accompanying the human soldiers, partly out of duty and partly out of curiosity. Now, as the base warning system announced Koroth forces approaching from the west, he wondered if that decision had been wise. He rushed to the command center, expecting to coordinate an emergency evacuation. The Koroth attack force was 3 times larger than their intelligence had predicted. With only 20 elderly humans and a skeleton crew of Confederacy technicians, the base wouldn't last an hour. But when Doak entered the command room, he found it eerily calm. Colonel Han stood before the tactical display, studying the approaching enemy formations. Major Sun and 3 other veterans were checking their weapons with unhurried precision. The Koroth will be within firing range in 15 minutes, Doak announced. We must prepare for evacuation. Colonel Han looked up, his weathered face showing no fear. No evacuation, Commander. We're going to engage them. That's impossible, Doak protested. They have over 200 ground troops and air support. We have 20 soldiers. Han smiled slightly. We've faced worse odds. He turned to Major Sunday Tae Kim, Lee, and June to the eastern ridge. Set up as we discussed. The gray-haired woman nodded and led her team out without a word. The rest of you, Han addressed the remaining humans, positions 3 and 4. Remember, discipline over speed. Make every shot count. As the human soldiers filed out, Doak noticed something strange. Their equipment, while outdated, had been extensively modified. Their projectile weapons bore custom sights and strange attachments. Some carried small devices Doak didn't recognize. What is your plan? Doak asked Han, trying to keep the desperation from his voice. The Koroth expect an easy victory, Han explained, checking his own rifle. They'll come in fast and aggressive. We're going to teach them about human warfare. Which is patient, precise, and very, very dirty. From the command center view screens, Doak watched in disbelief as the humans took positions that seemed tactically unsound. Instead of defending the base perimeter as Confederacy doctrine would dictate, they spread out in small groups, hiding in the rocky terrain surrounding the base. The Koroth attacked exactly as expected, a frontal assault with overwhelming force. Their commander, visible in distinctive gold armor, led from the center of the formation. Their confidence was clear in their tight formation and direct approach. What happened next would change Doak's understanding of warfare forever. The humans didn't open fire when the Koroth came into range. They waited, letting the enemy advance deep into the valley leading to the base. Doak wanted to scream at the tactical display they were giving up their advantage, letting the enemy get too close. Then, just as the Koroth reached a narrow section of the valley, the first shots came. Not from the front, but from hidden positions on both sides. The humans had created a perfect crossfire. The Koroth, caught by surprise, tried to regroup. That's when the second part of Han's plan revealed itself. Small explosions erupted throughout the valley, not powerful enough to kill, but precisely placed to create confusion and separate the Koroth units from each other. "Those aren't standard explosives," Doak said, watching the tactical display in amazement. "Improvised devices," Han explained calmly, directing his troops through a small communicator. "Major Sun was our demolitions expert before she became an officer." The Koroth commander rallied his troops and pushed forward despite the ambush. They were adaptable, Doak had to give them that. But the humans had anticipated this move too. As the Koroth approached the base perimeter, they encountered no resistance. Believing they had overcome the defenders, they charged toward the main structure only to find themselves caught in another carefully prepared kill zone. Colonel Han himself led this final defense, his ancient rifle speaking with precise, measured shots. Each time it fired, a Koroth soldier fell. The other veterans demonstrated equally impressive accuracy, targeting officers and communication specialists with uncanny precision. The battle lasted less than an hour. The Koroth, who had never experienced defeat at an outpost this small, retreated in disarray, leaving their dead and wounded behind. Their commander had been among the first casualties, shot with surgical precision by Major Sun from a position nearly impossible for Confederacy snipers. When it was over, Doak found Han calmly cleaning his weapon in the command center. "How?" Doak asked simply. Han looked up. "The Koroth fight like conquerors who expect to win. We fight like people who can't afford to lose. But your tactics, they weren't in any Confederacy manual." "No," Han agreed. "They're from Earth's history. Specifically, guerrilla warfare. When you can't match your enemy's strength, you use their strength against them." Doak studied the old human with new respect. "Your soldiers fought magnificently. I didn't see one hesitate, even when the Koroth broke through the second line." "That's experience," Han said. "Each person out there has survived dozens of conflicts. They don't panic because they've seen worse." Later that night, as Confederacy reinforcements arrived at the base, Doak watched the human veterans sharing a meal together. They seemed relaxed, even jovial, showing none of the post-battle stress common in Confederacy soldiers. "I misjudged you," Doak admitted to Han. "I thought age had weakened you." Han smiled. "On Earth, Commander, age is often a sign of how hard someone is to kill." Commander Doak sat in the intelligence room, surrounded by holographic displays of Earth's history. After the shocking victory at Forward Base Epsilon, Admiral Tay had ordered a complete review of human military history. What Doak found disturbed him deeply. "You've been fighting each other for your entire recorded history," Doak said as Colonel Han entered the room. "Over 5,000 years of continuous warfare." Han nodded, taking a seat across from Doak. "Unfortunately true. We only achieved global peace within the last century." "How did your species survive?" Doak asked, genuinely puzzled. "The casualties in some of these conflicts are staggering." Han's eyes grew distant. "We adapt. We heal. We go on." He pointed to one of the displays showing Earth's world wars. "After each of these global conflicts, we rebuilt. Sometimes better than before." Major Sun joined them, carrying a tray of steaming drinks. She handed cups to both men before sitting down. "What is this?" Doak asked, sniffing the dark liquid cautiously. "Coffee," Sun replied. "Military fuel. You'll find it bitter." Doak took a small sip and immediately regretted it. The drink was indeed bitter, with a strange burning quality that seemed designed to be unpleasant. Yet the humans drank it with obvious enjoyment. "Even your refreshments are harsh," Doak observed. Sun smiled. "Earth shaped us in many ways, Commander. We learned to find pleasure in difficult things." Over the next hour, Doak questioned the two human officers about their planet. Their answers painted a picture of a world where danger lurked everywhere: extreme weather, natural disasters, predators, disease, and of course, other humans. Your medical records show multiple injuries, Doak said, looking at Han's file. Broken bones, internal damage, something called shrapnel wounds. How are you still functional? Humans heal well, Han explained. And we can function despite injury when necessary. It says here you continued commanding after receiving 3 bullet wounds during something called the Myanmar conflict. Han shrugged. The mission wasn't complete. Doak struggled to comprehend this mentality. In Confederacy forces, even minor injuries typically resulted in immediate medical evacuation. I need to understand, Doak said finally. Why did you volunteer for this mission? At your age, surely you've earned rest. Han and Sun exchanged a look that carried an entire conversation. The younger soldiers have lives ahead of them, Sun answered. Families, futures. Most of us have already lived full lives. But you risk death here, Doak pointed out. We're going to die anyway, Han said matter-of-factly. Humans don't live much past 100 years. Better to die doing something meaningful. This casual acceptance of mortality shocked Doak. His own species typically lived 300 years and viewed death with appropriate dread. As they continued talking, a young Confederacy officer entered with urgent news. The Koroth had regrouped and were planning a major assault on Confederacy headquarters. The attack would come within days. We'll need to coordinate with Admiral Tay immediately, Doak said, rising from his chair. One moment, Han said, studying the tactical display the officer had brought. These formations suggest the Koroth believe we'll defend conventionally. How else would we defend? Doak asked. Han smiled. Unconventionally, of course. Later that evening, Doak found several human soldiers in the base's training area. Despite their age and the day's planning session, they were exercising, running, lifting weights, practicing combat moves. Sergeant Min, the oldest at 72, was helping Private Gill with hand-to-hand techniques. Don't you need to rest? Doak asked, genuinely concerned. Sergeant Min laughed. Rest is for after the war, Commander. Bodies in motion stay in motion. Doak observed their training, noting how each movement was precise, economical. There was no wasted energy, no flashy techniques. Everything served a purpose. You fight differently than I expected, Doak commented. How so? Min asked, demonstrating a joint lock on Gill. Earth entertainment shows humans using elaborate fighting styles. You use simple movements. Min nodded. Those shows are fantasy. Real combat is ugly and direct. We do what works. The next morning, Doak found Colonel Han alone on the observation deck, watching the sunrise over the planet below. Beautiful, isn't it? Han said without turning. Different colors than Earth's sun, but still beautiful. You miss your world, Doak said, not a question but an observation. Always. Deathworld or not, it's home. Doak hesitated, then asked the question that had been bothering him since meeting the humans. Your species evolved in constant danger. You fought wars that decimated your population. By all logic, you should be aggressive, violent creatures. Yet you seem. He struggled to find the right word. Kind? Han suggested. Yes. Despite everything, you show compassion. Han turned from the viewport to face Doak. Perhaps because of everything, not despite it. When you live in a harsh world, you learn the value of cooperation. Of helping others. Then why all the wars? We're imperfect, Han admitted. Still evolving. But we've learned that strength without compassion leads nowhere good. He smiled slightly. On Earth, we have a saying, hard times create strong people. Strong people create good times. Good times create weak people. Weak people create hard times. An endless cycle, Doak said. Maybe. But we're trying to break it. Han's eyes grew serious. The Koroth remind me of humanity's past mistakes. They believe strength alone determines right. And you disagree? Strength should protect, Commander, not dominate. That's what we learned on our death world. The hard way. The emergency sirens wailed throughout Confederacy headquarters as the Koroth fleet appeared in the system. Twice as many ships as intelligence had predicted dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their weapons already charging. On the command deck, Admiral Tay watched with growing dread as the tactical display filled with enemy signatures. They must have committed their entire fleet, Tay said quietly. We're outnumbered 10-1. Commander Doak stood beside him, along with Colonel Han and Major Sunday. The two human officers studied the display with calm focus, seemingly untroubled by the overwhelming odds. We should begin evacuation procedures, one of Tay's advisors suggested. Save who we can. Before Tay could respond, Colonel Han spoke. If you run, they'll hunt you down one by one. This is the moment to stand and fight. With what? The advisor demanded. Our fleet is scattered. Ground defenses won't stop their bombardment. Han turned to Tay. Admiral, you have one advantage they don't expect. Us. Tay looked skeptical. You're 20 soldiers against thousands? 20 soldiers who understand exactly how the Koroth think, Han corrected. And who have spent our lives studying how to defeat superior forces. Han outlined his plan quickly. The human veterans would hold a strategic ground position, the narrow mountain pass leading to the headquarters power generators. If the Koroth followed their usual tactics, they would land troops to capture rather than destroy these valuable resources. It's a suicide mission, Doak protested. Major Sun smiled grimly. Only if we fail, Commander. Despite misgivings, Tay authorized the plan. With no better options, the Confederacy forces prepared for what might be their final stand. As the first Koroth landing ships descended, Doak made an unexpected decision. He would accompany the human squad. When Han questioned this choice, Doak simply said, I need to understand. The mountain pass was perfect for defense, steep walls, limited approaches, good cover. The humans transformed it into a killing ground with minimal resources. They set traps, created false positions, established crossing fields of fire. Every soldier knew exactly what to do without detailed orders. The Koroth ground forces arrived in waves, confident in their superior numbers and technology. They advanced up the pass with the disciplined formation that had conquered a dozen worlds. Then the humans sprang their trap. Unlike at Forward Base Epsilon, this time the veterans didn't hide their presence. They wanted the Koroth to see them, to focus on the small band of defenders while overlooking the real danger. The aliens took the bait, concentrating their attack on the visible humans while walking into carefully prepared killing zones. Doak stayed near Colonel Han, watching in amazement as the old soldier directed his people with hand signals and short commands. When the first Koroth wave faltered under unexpected resistance, Han led a small team to high ground, providing covering fire for the others to reposition. They adapt quickly, Doak observed as the Koroth changed their approach for a second assault. So do we, Han replied, reloading his weapon. The battle raged for hours. The humans should have been exhausted, yet they fought on with undiminished effectiveness. Doak saw Major Sun take a grazing hit from an energy weapon that burned through her armor, yet she continued fighting as if uninjured. Sergeant Min lost 2 fingers to shrapnel but kept firing his weapon one-handed. During a brief lull, Doak asked Han, how do you endure this? Han's face was streaked with dirt and blood, but his eyes remained clear. On Earth, we learned that pain is temporary. Failing those who depend on you lasts forever. The Koroth commander, frustrated by the unexpectedly fierce resistance, ordered his elite guard to lead the next assault. They came up the center of the pass, heavily armored and carrying advanced shields. Han saw the danger immediately. Sun, Min, left flank. Choi, Huan, suppressing fire. The humans shifted positions with practiced efficiency, but the Koroth advance continued. For the first time, Doak saw concern on Han's face. They're going to break through, Doak said. Han nodded grimly. Not if I can help it. He picked up a backpack filled with explosives that Major Sun had prepared. Cover me. Before Doak could protest, Han sprinted toward an overhanging rock formation near the Koroth advance. Energy weapons fire tracked him, missing by centimeters as he weaved unpredictably. The Koroth commander spotted this lone human and directed his guards to intercept. They converged on Han's position just as he reached the rocks. Doke saw Han take multiple hits but somehow stay on his feet long enough to jam the explosives into a crack in the formation. The detonation was massive, bringing down tons of rock onto the Koroth elite guard and their commander. When the dust cleared, Doke raced to where Han lay partially buried in rubble. The old soldier was still alive, but barely. Why? Doke asked, trying to stem the bleeding from Han's wounds. Why sacrifice yourself? Han's eyes focused on Doke with effort. Because that's what we do, he whispered. The old protect the young. That's how we survived on Earth. We remember what matters. Han died minutes later, just as Confederate reinforcements arrived. The Koroth, leaderless and stunned by the loss of their elite forces, fell into disarray. When the first wave of Earth's main military force arrived that evening, hundreds of younger, even more formidable human soldiers, the Koroth retreat became a rout. Later, standing in the memorial hall, Doke explained to Admiral Tay what he had learned. They're not just strong because they come from a death world, Doke said, looking at the displayed names of the fallen humans. They're strong because they understand something the Koroth never will. What's that? Tay asked. That true strength isn't about domination. It's about protection. Doke touched Colonel Han's name on the memorial. They fight hardest not for themselves, but for others. Outside the viewport, Earth's main battle fleet moved into formation alongside Confederacy ships. The war wasn't over, but its course had changed forever.